All right, so picture this. You're with me in Sambhal,
Sambhal.
Uttar Pradesh, India.
Okay.
It's Tuesday, April 8th, 2025.
Right.
It's morning, and we're in like one of those really narrow lanes that you find in these North Indian towns.
In Shahi.
You know, just surrounded by all this amazing street food.
Oh, yeah, I can almost smell it.
It's like a sensory overload, you know, the spices and everything frying up. It's unbelievable.
It sounds too right.
Oh, absolutely. So you've got the bicycle bells ringing, the people chatting, and then every now and then, like a goat just wanders by bleeding.
Oh, it's a good image.
But there's this other thing, you can kind of feel it in the air.
What's that?
It's like a tension, you know, like something's a little off.
Wow, you're really setting the scene here.
Well, it's important because at this very moment, something has happened here in Sambhal, something that's probably going to make that tension even worse.
Oh, really? Okay. I'm intrigued now.
So there's this mosque, a really grand one from the Mughal era.
I see.
Everyone here knows it as the Shahi Juma Masjid, the Royal Friday Mosque.
Right, a pretty important landmark, I'd imagine.
Absolutely. But now the Archaeological Survey of India, the ASI, they've decided they're going to change the signboard.
Change the signboard? What do you mean?
They're saying it should actually be called Juma Masjid, just Friday Mosque. No, Shahi.
Huh. So just a simple name change then, is that it?
Well, on the surface, it might seem like just a bureaucratic thing, you know, correcting a mistake.
Yeah, like a minor detail.
But we're talking about Sambhal here.
Right, a place with a lot of history.
Exactly. And in a place like this, a name isn't just a name.
So you're saying there's more to this than meets the eye?
Oh, way more. This signboard change, it's like a little tremor, and Sambhal is already on shaky ground.
I see what you're getting at.
We're not just talking about swapping out a piece of metal.
Right, there's got to be more to it.
This is about layers of history, about controversy, and about what this one little change could mean for the future of this whole town.
So where do we even begin to unravel this?
Well, we've been digging into a bunch of stuff, news reports, local accounts, and it all points to this moment, this new blue signboard just waiting to be put up.
That blue signboard represents a whole lot more than just a name.
Exactly. And that's what we're going to deep dive into today, why this matters so much, especially given what Sambhal has been through lately.
Okay, let's dive in then. What's the story with this mosque? You mentioned it's from the Mughal era.
Yeah, so this mosque, Shahi Jama Masjid or Juma Masjid, whichever you want to call it.
Sure.
It's been standing here in Sambhal for centuries.
Wow, centuries. That's a long time.
And for most of that time, people have known it as the Shahi Jama Masjid.
Which makes sense, given the whole royal Mughal connection.
Right, but now the ASI is coming in with their own version of the story, at least when it comes to the name.
And what are they basing this on?
They're saying that their historical records show the original name was Juma Masjid.
Interesting. And they're sticking to their guns on this.
Oh, yeah. In fact, if you go inside the mosque right now, you'll actually find an ASI board that already says Juma Masjid.
Really? So it's not like they're pulling this name out of thin air?
Nope. Their legal representative, Vishnu Sharma, he's basically saying they're just fixing a mistake someone made changing the signboard without permission sometime in the past.
Okay. But still, you have to wonder about these two names, Shahi and Juma. They have such different vibes.
You're totally right, Shahi. It sounds grand, royal, like something out of the Mughal court.
Exactly. And then you have Juma, which
Yeah.
is much simpler, just referring to Friday prayers.
Which is obviously a huge part of Islam.
Yeah, so for our listeners out there, think about, is this just the ASI being sticklers for the rules, or could this name change be about something much bigger?
That's the million-dollar question, right? And here's the thing, it's not like this is happening in a vacuum.
Okay, I was about to say there's got to be some context here.
Let's rewind to November 24th, 2024.
All right.
Remember the mosque we're talking about? Well, back then it became the center of this whole court-ordered survey by the ASI.
What was this survey about?
So someone had filed a petition claiming that the mosque wasn't originally a mosque at all.
Wait, so what are they saying it was?
They're saying it was built on the site of an ancient Hindu temple.
A Hindu temple? What kind of temple?
One dedicated to Kalki, who Hindus believe is like the final avatar of Lord Vishnu.
Oh, wow. So this is getting into some serious religious territory.
You can say that again, and of course it didn't go over well in Sambhal.
I can imagine there was some pushback.
Oh yeah, things got pretty bad in the Kotgarvi area, stone-throwing vehicles set on fire.
That sounds scary.
It was, and tragically 4 people were killed, several others injured.
Oh my gosh.
She really shook the community, and the scars are still there.
So this signboard change, it's happening just a few months after all that.
Exactly, it's hard not to connect the two.
Yeah, you have to wonder if they're related somehow.
Let's dig a little deeper into this whole temple-mosque debate. because it's really the heart of the issue.
Okay, so what are the arguments on each side?
Well, the Hindu petitioners, they're claiming that back in the 16th century, when the Mughals were first establishing themselves in India,
Right.
either Babur himself or some of his people, they demolished a Hindu temple dedicated to Kalki and then built the mosque right on top of it.
Bold claim. Do they have anything to back that up?
They're pointing to an ASI report from 1879 written by this British archaeologist ACL Carmalale.
All right. Yeah.
Apparently, he mentioned something called rubble masonry in the mosque's construction.
Rubble masonry, what is that exactly?
Basically, it means they used broken up pieces of stone, and the petitioners are saying this proves they took stones from the destroyed temple and used them to build the mosque.
I see their logic, but
Yeah.
couldn't that just be how they built things back then?
That's the counter-argument. Historians like Meenakshi Jain, they've pointed out that rubble masonry was pretty common back then.
Okay.
It doesn't automatically mean they were repurposing stones from another religious building.
So it's a bit of a historical puzzle then, trying to figure out what really happened.
Exactly. And then you have the Muslim community in Sambhal. They're looking at this whole thing from a completely different angle.
What's their perspective?
They're basing their argument on the Places of Worship Act of 1991.
I've heard that. What does it say?
It basically says that whatever the religious character of a place of worship was on August 15th, 1947, the day India became independent, that's how it has to stay.
So they're saying this mosque has been a mosque for centuries, and the law protects that.
Exactly. They're not buying this whole temple theory one bit.
And are there any key figures on this side of the debate?
Yeah, a local politician, Zia or Raymond Bark from the Samajwadi Party.
Okay.
He was really vocal against the ASI survey. He said it went against the Places of Worship Act.
So you have these two totally different interpretations of history and the law, and then boom, right in the middle of all this tension, the ASI drops this signboard bombshell.
And the timing couldn't be more sensitive.
Yeah, especially after the violence in November.
It's like the whole town is holding its breath, wondering what's going to happen next.
What are people in Sambhal saying about all this?
Reports are saying there's a lot of anxiety, a lot of suspicion. People are saying things like, first the survey, now the name change, what's next?
That's understandable. They must feel like things are changing too fast.
And it's important to remember the role the ASI plays in all this.
Right, they're the ones in charge of protecting historical sites.
Exactly. They're like the caretakers of India's past, and this mosque, whether it's called Shahi Juma Masjid or Juma Masjid, has been under their protection since 1920.
So they have a lot of authority when it comes to this mosque.
They do, and they've been pretty clear that they're just following their records.
Let's say the mosque is called Juma Masjid.
Right, and they've even filed legal documents saying that the mosque management and local residents haven't always cooperated with them.
Oh, really? Like how?
Apparently, there have been times when they tried to inspect the mosque and people stopped them.
Wow. And I guess the steel railing incident back in 2018 didn't help either.
No, not at all. Remember that.
Yeah, that's when they put up those railings without asking permission.
So from the ASI's point of view, they might just see this as doing their jobs, sticking to the historical facts as they understand them.
I can see that, but you have to imagine how this feels for the people of Sambhal.
Imagine if someone came to your house and decided to change the name on your mailbox.
Just out of the blue.
Yeah, and they're basing it on some old document that you're not even sure is accurate.
I'd be pretty upset even if it seemed like a small thing.
Exactly. It would feel like they were disrespecting your home, your history.
And that's exactly how people in Sambhal must feel about this mosque.
This mosque is part of their lives, their identity, and then you add in the violence that happened just a few months ago.
Yeah, that really highlights how fragile the situation is.
That second survey on November 24th, it sparked so much fear.
I can imagine people were afraid the mosque would be demolished.
And those protests, those deaths, it wasn't just some abstract news story.
Those were real people with families and friends.
People whose lives were intertwined with that mosque.
And the aftermath of that violence has been pretty complicated.
Definitely the Uttar Pradesh government set up a whole judicial commission to investigate.
Led by a retired judge, right?
Yeah, Devendra Kumar Arora. And then the Supreme Court stepped in and told the local court to pause the case.
At least until the mosque committee can appeal.
So legally speaking, it's all still up in the air.
Yet in the middle of all this legal back and forth and community trauma, the ASI is moving forward with this signboard change.
And they're sticking to their guns, saying it's all based on their records from 1927.
So that new signboard, the blue one,
Yeah.
it's just sitting there waiting.
Yep, at the Satyavrat police outpost, they haven't announced when they're going to put it up, which just adds to the tension.
It's almost comical in a way, you know, this whole situation.
How so?
I can just imagine the ASI official showing up with a new sign and this group of local women just stopping them in their tracks.
Oh, yeah, like a little old lady with a rolling pin.
Exactly. They're like, Juma Masjid, what are you talking about? This has always been the Shahi Jama Masjid.
Yeah. I love that image. It's like they're protecting their home.
Because that's what it is for them. A home, a place that's been part of their lives for generations.
And it's important to remember that Sambhal isn't just important to Muslims.
Right. It has significance for Hindus, too.
For Hindus, it's believed to be the birthplace of Kalki.
And for Muslims, this mosque has been a center of worship for centuries.
It's like this point where these two very different histories and faiths come together.
Which makes the historical details of the mosque even more fascinating.
You're talking about the fact that it was built in 1526 by Mir Hindu Beg.
Yeah, a governor under Babur, the founder of the Mughal dynasty.
That really places it right in the thick of early Mughal rule.
And it brings us back to that 1879 ASI report and the whole rubble masonry debate.
That's the thing, the historical record isn't always clear-cut.
Sometimes it raises more questions than it answers.
And then you have the people who are driving these legal challenges.
Like Hari Shankar Jain, the lawyer.
Yeah, he's the one representing the Hindu petitioners.
And he's involved in other mosque cases too, right?
He's a big name in this kind of legal battle, and he's basing his arguments on ancient Hindu texts and the Puranas.
Trying to connect Sambhal to the Kalki avatar and the idea that a temple was destroyed.
It's a stark contrast to the Mosque Committee, who are firmly standing on the Places of Worship Act.
They want to keep things as they are.
Exactly. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I think what's really striking is how sensitive and complex this whole situation is.
It's not just about a signboard.
No, it's about history, religion identity, and the very real fear of violence.
Sambhal is like a microcosm of India itself.
So many different communities and histories all woven together.
And sometimes those threads get tangled.
And what the ASI might see as a simple correction
Could be seen by others as a much bigger deal.
it could even be seen as a threat.
So for our listeners out there, here's something to think about.
What do you think the impact of this signboard change will be on Sambhal?
When history, faith, and identity collide like this, what happens next?
It's a question we all need to be asking.
Because the answers might surprise us.
And they might even change the future of this town.
And maybe even beyond.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Until next time.